Não está, não. Ok, já está. Obrigado por me dizer, que senão nunca mais me lembrava. José, você já consegue ouvir ou não? Okay, so about what I was telling, talking with José and all of you, did you get this part about the classes? Does it make sense to you? Okay. For example, I could now add the phone address of both classes. For that, I can do something like this. Or I could say, let's say that I want to put the names together. For example, I can say that I want Miguel to have the name of Miguel, so plus equal, and also the name of José. Okay? That way, when I print Miguel, he will be called Miguel José. Okay? Makes sense. So now I'm doing something similar to what we had in the previous class, which is like adding stuff. And I'm using the memory inside the class Miguel to keep the new name of Miguel, which is now Miguel José instead of just Miguel. Okay? Of course, I can do something different. I can create a new variable, which is called x, which is, in fact, the sum of these two. In this case, I'm not using the internal memory of the classes, of the instances, to write the result, just to read the names of each person, okay? All right, so I'm digressing here. So if you need some more stuff about, more explanation about these classes, please go ahead. If not, we can go back and see if someone else needs help. Who else needs to talk about something else? If you don't give me something to talk about, I will continue with the classes. No one? Okay, so how about this proposal that I said? Let's say the final exercise was using classes. Now, I told you in the theoretical class that perhaps it would be better to use dictionaries. Anyone has an idea on how we could use dictionaries for doing this kind of representation of complex numbers and also operations of those same complex numbers? Anyone wants to propose how this could be done? Don't be shy, come on. Acho que vou ter que pedir à Sara outra vez. Já não, estou a brincar, já me chatei outra vez. Lucas, você quer experimentar? Você já trabalhou em dicionários comigo, portanto, se calhar já tem assim umas ideias mais... You can try? Yeah, go ahead, try it. So, the goal is to use dictionaries instead of classes. How would you do it?
My internet, I think, is not so good, but I will try. Let me... Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Let me... all right.
Yes, you still have a folder there called challenge, which is not needed. The one below.
What? Okay, this. All right. So my class we don't need anymore. So let me try to. First, we need to create initialize a dictionary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like complex complex numbers dict.
So you are going to do a dictionary for many numbers or just a dictionary for each number? What do you intend to do?
I was thinking to create a dictionary and put inside other dictionary.
Okay,
Dictionaries.
good.
Okay. Like the complex numbers dict, and inside I have complex number 1, complex number 2, and inside of that, like read the real part or imaginary part.
Okay, makes sense.
Like if I want to create C1. Let me see.
So this would be a complex number, just one, right?
Yeah.
C1. Okay, so you said you want it to be a dictionary.
Mm.
You can just start with the brackets for dictionary.
Complex numbers, all right. Like, or C1 and put inside the maybe the real part or just R. And 5 and I think that's it. Let me print to see how it look like. CD. Where's me? Okay. But now yeah, you can see the terminal as well. Let me put like not this. Don't you put like side by side?
Yeah. So if you want to do what I do, you should also, before calling the ring of pi, you should call clear and then dot slash.
Okay.
It's easier for us because in the end you will have things there which will also.
Yeah. Clear.
And yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So now we have a dictionary which contains a single number, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So just to create a new one, like C2 or something.
C2, you can do the same. Like, and create C2. They is the same. And put, I don't know, 3 minus 7.
Okay, now we have a dictionary which contains two numbers. Now, the problem now is if you want to add, you need a function for adding. So can you define a function for adding that implement?
Let me.
Copy paste from somewhere.
Yeah. Like define something. And
I'm embarrassed. Your code looks so much better than mine.
yeah, I try to like do as I write the code, make the comments for I don't forget. Return like.
Professor, acho que tem o micro desligado.
The conversation I was having with Jose before is that you need two there, no? Because this function will add two numbers. So you need an X and a Y.
Yeah, like X and the Y. But if you add the real parts and storing classics, that's okay. So you are going to take just the C1 and C2. Like if you print just like this, you can see how you can look into the dictionary.
What you're saying is you're just going to access C1 and C2, just that, no? And that's what you are going to go to give to X and Y in the function.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Manel, you were asking something?
I was asking something because when you're adding two elements, you're going to, where are you going
To store the result?
to store the result? On the same dictionary?
Probably, I would say.
But then that same dictionary would have to be an input of the function, not only S1, C1, and C2, but also the dictionary, right?
Not really. The function can return a result and then we store it where we want.
Okay, okay, sure, okay.
But let's see in a moment.
What I try to do is like you receive two dictionaries, like the C1 and C2 complex numbers. So you have to take the real part and the imaginary part of both. So you take here's. Yeah. And you need to add the real parts separately and the imaginary parts. So the real part of the sum is x plus real y, imaginary part. It's image x plus image y.
Okay.
So we have to return it like
That now this is okay. So so now you have to return, and you're wondering how should I return it? My answer would be you should stick to the same representation you used before. So the answer to your question is how did you represent the complex number in this case? With a dictionary that contains a key R and a key Y, I. For example, look at line 36.
okay, just like I did here. So I add like I need to put like I don't know what I put inside here. I know real part and here imagine part, but
This is the last question. You don't need to put there nothing. You just return a dictionary, and outside the function, we store it where we want. So you just return the dictionary.
just return
Yeah.
this. Okay. So here I can okay, like put complex, add like C3. That's the sum, and use the function add of C1, not C1. We need to like to
You need to start using Vim.
yeah, because this keyboard is like mess for me.
You don't have
Okay.
a home and an end function as keyboard. You don't. We discuss it in a moment. I give you some tips.
Okay.
Yeah, better. C1 plus C2. It's the same, but let's be rigorous.
So you give to the function only the dictionary inside of the complex number singular like C1 and C2 that are inside the complex numbers dict that are stored all our complex numbers. So let me see if we can print it. Maybe we can see separately.
Yeah, you just print C3 now. Manel, is the question is answered, no? If you wanted to do what you said, it is much more complicated, but you would have to give the dictionary to the function, of course. Okay, so it works, no?
Yeah, like C1 is here, C2 is here, C3 is here. C3 you can see like it's 5 plus 3, the real parts, and the imaginary parts 3 minus 7 minus 4.
Okay, so
we can def multiply now.
Let me just explain something before, Lucas, because the multiplication is more or less the same. You don't need to do it.
Yeah.
For the representation part, no. So now we are using dictionaries, and what is the downside of this compared to classes? Is that we have a representation. So this is our representation of a complex number, dictionaries. We also have a representation which contains many complex numbers, which is the dictionary, the high-level dictionary. So we have many dictionaries. And the downside, the shortcoming is that this add function is not inside the representation of the complex numbers. Remember, in the class, we have the number, and then a function inside the class to add numbers to that number. And so this is one of the problems. The add function is not inside the representation itself. So if we want to go to a more representation more similar to the class, what we will do is we create a new key inside the dictionary which contains the add function. I think you can say something like this. The complex numbers dict key add, I will say add function or something, equals add. Can you try to do that, Luca? No, you have to do it after you initialize your dictionary. So it has to be after 36.
So after 36. Can you repeat, please?
So there is a new key, which is add. So you type complex numbers dict add. That's the key.
Like.
So this now is not a variable, it is a function. So you just point to the function, so you say add, which is the function which was defined. Okay, that's it. You don't know. I think it's just add.
Okay.
Without parentheses, I think. I'm not sure. Okay, can you run to see if it is okay or if it complains? Okay, so it works. So you see there, add is a function.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. Now, if you want to use the function in line 642, how would you use it?
Okay, so to give it.
No. That's so you are using C1 and C2, and you are still putting on C3. The only difference is that instead of using the add function, you want to use the add which is contained in the dictionary.
Oh, okay. I think like
Key add.
Key. Okay, yeah. The key and
I think that's it. Can you try?
That's it.
So it works, no?
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. Typically, when I'm doing a dictionary, I try to put a small number, a small name, because when I do a big name, in the end I get this. So names of dictionaries at the upper level, which I know that will have to contain a lot of depth, I try to put a short name because of this kind of stuff. Okay, so now we have a function inside our dictionary, and this function will be able to add complex numbers. It's more well, it's that way. It's more similar to the classes. What else? Thanks,
Okay.
Lucas. I think that's it. I don't think we need to do the multiplication.
Okay. Yeah, I do later just to practice a little more.
I still have one more thing just to confuse you even more. Before you go, Lucas. So now, look, what's the problem now? The problem is, I don't know why I cannot my tablet. Okay, so take a look. This add function that we have here was defined there. Now, why do we need a definition here? Because we want to use it there, of course, but it doesn't really need to be defined in this way. This definition of a function is useful whenever we want to use it, I don't know, add below, so, okay? In some more calls of that function. One alternative would be to directly here create a function which has no name, it's just a function. It's a way to create a function in line, or say in that line, it creates a function, and what it does, you don't even define it with a name. For that we use a lambda function. So,
Okay, the anonymous function.
yeah, lambda is an anonymous function. So there you can type lambda. Lambda will contain an x and a y, no? I don't remember the syntax. I always forget the syntax.
X and Y. Desligar?
Desligar o quê? O som? Ah. Okay, Lucas, you can turn off the mic. I think we are having echo, so I try to repeat what you say, okay? If you take away your microphone. Yeah, so Lucas is searching for the way to define this lambda function. Can you try to search on the net? How do you define a lambda function in Python? I don't remember. Hmm? Okay. So what Lucas is getting there. Okay, so the colleague here said it. So lambda, then you have to put the number of the input variable, which in this case will be, so those are the arguments. It will be x comma y, then 2 points. Yeah. And now you type the result. So now you have to put in a single line the computation of the real part. So you do xr plus yr. You create a dictionary. I can write it. So here, what you should do is create a dictionary. So I'm looking at this place here. So I'm going to create a dictionary. And here I have to create in the first the real part. So r is, it is going to be x of r plus y of r. And then I still need to create my I, which will be x of I plus y of I. Let's see. So lambda xy r equals x. I think that's it. Okay, so what Lucas is doing now is defining a function in a single line, which doesn't need a name because nobody is going to call it by its name. It's always going to be called by the value, the dictionary. So it defines a function, and of course, because this was all in many lines and the lambda function needs to be defined in a single line, he needed to compress all this part into a single line, which is what he did here, okay? It's the same in a single line. Go ahead. What it does, it's like a function definition. So what you are doing here is defining a function. But you are not only defining what the function does here and what are the arguments of the function there, you are also giving a name to the function. A lambda is exactly the same, is like a shortcut to defining a function. The only thing that you don't have to do in a lambda, or you cannot, is to give it a name. Because this is like a function which is going to be used either quickly for something or going to be stored somewhere else. So you don't give a name, but you do say what the arguments are, and you do say how the function works, okay? So we did an equivalent of the add function using a lambda. Let's see if it works first. Does it work?
Yep. Here you can see inside the key called f, the function.
Now it stores the lambda, exactly. Okay, and then the function works because your print is correct. Okay. So Lucas is explaining that, I have to repeat, I forgot you don't have a microphone. Lucas is explaining that now the add key will contain a value that is a function main locals, and it says there lambda because now we are using a lambda function. Before it said add because we were using the definition of add. Now with this code you can just delete from line 15 to line 31. You don't need it. You don't have to delete. I know you want to keep both, but just to say that you didn't need all that junk piece of code. You could just use it like this. Okay. So this is the way to use dictionaries all the way up to the same functionality as the classes, meaning store variables and also functions. In all truthness, typically we don't use dictionaries in this in such a complex manner. Okay. If we want to use methods for operating variables, typically people do classes, not dictionaries. But we have lots of flexibility. We can do anything in Python. Okay, thanks, Lucas. I think we punished you enough for today. Bartosz, do you have Linux or not? I remember you. Now you have? Good, good. Okay, so I convinced you. Great. Was it easy to install? No problem? Good. Okay, good, good, great. What else? How much time do we have? We still have a lot of time. What else do you need? Do you have some questions about the practical assignment that you need to see answered? I didn't understand. Someone said something? No? Nothing? Go ahead, Rafael. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a confusion that already existed in the previous class. So I think I know what your confusion is. Probably it's not well written. It's not well specified in part 04. So in fact, we have two arguments, okay? The first argument is called use time mode, and the second is a max value. So what is happening here? Oh, my Zoom is again going to finish. I don't know why. Okay. I'm going to stop my video so that we have more bandwidth. So I was saying that we need to have these two variables, use time mode and max value, but they are variables of different nature. They're not really variables, they are command line arguments. So they are arguments of a different nature. The first is UTM, use time mode. It is a variable, an argument that is either true or false. So you could use it like this, minus, you write something like main.py, and then you say minus UTM, false, okay? So that is saying what the argument is, and then the value that you want for that argument. Or you could say blah, 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 minus UTM, true, okay? Now, when we are using Boolean arguments like this, it is a bummer. It's not nice to have to define if they are false or true. So we use a shortcut. And the shortcut is, we don't say the value, and if the argument is there, it means it's going to be true. If it's not, it's false. So if we say main minus UTM, immediately UTM is going to be true. If we don't say UTM, it's going to be false, okay? So that's why you see here, UTM contains nothing after. So you either use UTM or use time mode, and not like in the second case, you see, in the second case, you see maximum number, so maximum value, so MV, and then here in capital words, it says max value. That means you need to put a number after the argument. For UTM, you don't need to. So what I suggest that you do for the arguments in the assignment is something like this. Copy, paste, UTM, okay? Something like this, So I need to search in my stuff, some arg parse, nothing, not tech files. So here there is something with argument parser, so I'm going to copy this and then adapt. Okay, so first I need to import argparse, it's there already. Second, I'm going to put the two arguments that I need. The first is UTM, and I'm going to say here, use time mode. And now this argument will be of type Boolean. I think it's like this. It will be of type Boolean. And in order for me not to have to say UTM true, UTM false, I need to do this here. Action equals, it's a special action, store true. Store true is the action that defines if I put UTM, it will be true, okay? Actually, usually I don't do this. I don't even say that the type is Boolean, so I'm not going to say. So this is for the UTM. Now, the second argument that we need is the MV, which is short for maximum value, okay? In this case, this is not a Boolean argument, so we really need to specify the number. So here we just say that the type is an integer. Of course, we need to put some nice help, which I'm not going to put here. How is it? Visual in, come on, visual in, okay, delete. And now, so let's see the arguments. So the args, by the way, did you notice that the args is a dictionary? Where is this? I don't know. So this is in exercise dicts. Okay, UTM. So the arguments which are built by the parser are placed in a dictionary. So dictionary will contain the key use time mode with a false there, maximum value with a none there. Now, we can use several stuff. For example, suppose that it is mandatory that I say maximum value must be given. So that way, right now, the code is running and maximum value is not being given. There should be an abort. The code should say, you have to give this to me, otherwise I cannot operate. So you just use required equals true. And I did something wrong here with help. Okay? So I'm saying this is required. You need to specify this one. So now if I run, let me do the clear. So now if I run this, it will say, oh, come on, you need to give me maximum value, okay? So now I'm going to say maximum value minus MV 5. And now it works. Now, what the way the code should operate is the following. If I don't say use time mode, that means that I'm in the, let's say, non-time mode. So I should say, if args use time mode is false, if this is false, Print. I will run the test for with args maximum value questions. So if I don't use time mode, the maximum value should be interpreted as the number of questions to ask the user. If, on the other hand, I use the time mode, so if it is true, then I will run my test. I will run the test for, now the time mode is interpreted as the number of seconds that I want my test to last. So, for example, if I do it like this, it says, I need to convert this to a string, sorry. I always forget about this part. str, okay. So if I run this, now it says, okay, so if I run it like this, with just with the MV, it says, okay, I will run the test for 5 seconds. This is not with, I will run the test with 5 questions. Exactly. So I'm not using the time mode, so it is going to ask 5 questions. Now, if I say minus UTM, the mode of the functionality is different, and the maximum number is interpreted as the number of the maximum time to use for the test. And it says, I will run the test for 5 seconds, okay? Is it clear? Okay. I'm not sure if it is well written, because you're not the first one to ask. I think so. Should, well, it doesn't have to be here. So, should I force, should I require MV? All variables are with lower characters, so I'm going to put I with lower characters, so true. Should I? Okay. So now if I don't say MV, it will say, oh, come on, you have to tell me MV. If I say this, it will say, okay, no problem. What I'm not sure that you can do is use a variable from the same, coming from the dictionary. That I'm not sure, I don't think so. Any more questions? Okay, so let me see. For the test, I think it's going to be more or less simple. I don't know, have you tried to do this? In this morning's class, someone asked me about this, and pretty print is not working. So if you want to print this like is here, you should try to figure out a different way to print, not using pretty print. Let me give you an example, for a quick example. So let me define a dictionary. D equals some very complicated stuff like the name. Then we have how? Diga, Lucas. So I'm there already. Lucas also. So let me wait a little bit more to see if people come log back in. Okay, I think everyone should be here. So now I'm going to do the following. I'm going to create a complex dictionary like the one I'm having here. Let me try to be more constructive about the dictionary. So let's say name UA, country, Portugal, age 500 plus, and whatever. Now, something else. For example, districts. Districts. Now, this is going to be a list. Porto, Lisboa, Aveiro. Okay. Now, for example, persons. Persons. Oops, sorry. Persons. Let me put this here. Persons. For example, we have a list of dictionaries. So the first is going to be a person named Antonio. Sorry, name here. I'm just trying to build a complicated dictionary. Antonio. And now a new dictionary called name Maria. Okay, so a big dictionary, complicated one. Why do I want a complicated dictionary? So that you see that when I do print D, it is going to be complicated to analyze, okay? So this is difficult to see what we have. So what would be interesting is to do something like we have here, okay? To print everything in a pretty manner. In this morning's class, I tried to use pretty print, which actually worked last year, but it was for Python 2. Right now, I don't think it works. We searched around, so Python print dicts pretty, and we found this, which says that pretty print, at some point it says pretty print doesn't really work to print like this. You should use JSON dumps. So JSON dumps is just a way to convert the dictionary into a JSON file or a JSON string, and then we have a good way. It prints in a nice way, something like this. So I'm just going to copy this. Look, JSON is a new library which we must import, so I'm going to import it. The dictionary is called, come on. Okay, now I have this, this is the second, so this is the second part of the class. Second part, aula 3P2, okay. And I have to put this somewhere, otherwise I will forget. Okay, this I don't need. Okay, so now going back to the showing of the dictionary. So I have a JSON dump string. Here I put my dictionary, then I say sort key is false and indent for example. And this will print the dictionary. I can print first in the bad way, not so pretty way, and then using this way, okay? So you see that using that formulation, we can print the dictionary in a much better way, even for us to understand what is there. So we have a name, a country, the age, some districts, which is a list with Porto, Lisboa, and Aveiro. Then persons, which is a list of dictionaries containing the name Antonio, and then another dictionary containing the name Maria, okay? Go ahead, Gabriel. So indent is this space. So whenever we change, how to say, hierarchy, the level of in the hierarchy, indent is how much you go to the left. I mean, I think it's this space, okay? So for example, if indent is 4, this is more to the left whenever we change. Actually, you can configure in your PyCharm the indent. You see here? This is the indent. You can go to File, Settings. Mine is Vim, so I'm not sure. Editor, General. Now, okay, so I could find it if I search it for half an hour, but there is a place here somewhere where we find this. Let's see. I think I can find it. General, let's go to the editor. Yeah, it could be, could be. Okay, so let's see. Indent. No, not this one. Editor, general appearance. No. I think it's this. Use the original lines indent for rapid fragments, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure. Which one, Manel? The first one, appearance and behavior. Appearance and behavior. Perhaps. I'm not. I never find anything. So what I always do is Google something like PyCharm change indent to 4 spaces, and it will tell me how to do it. Okay. So code style JavaScript, blah blah blah. Settings editor code style. Try disable. Okay. So now you search around. I will not lose time with this, okay? So you can change it on PyCharm. Obviously, I don't know how to, but you can. And your second question was about these sort keys, no? So the sort keys is when you are printing the dictionary, a dictionary is a list of things that contains a special order, which is useful for the computer to retrieve fast. So they are ordered in a way that it is very quickly, when you ask for the value of key name, it will pick up very quickly. This is important, for example, for giant databases and so on. But this order is not intuitive to us. It's an order that is useful for the computer. Therefore, when you are printing the dictionary, you can ask it to sort, and I think it will sort the keys by alphabetic order. So, for example, here you can see that the first is the name. But if I say sort, I think the first should be something that starts with an A. I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay, so now it starts with country. Typically, people have a special key, which is very important because it's the name of something. And the trick that people often do, for example, the name would be very nice if we could see the name first. But now the name is the last because in alphabetic order, it's like what happens. So this key, which is special because we want to see it first, typically we start it with an underscore. That way, when we sort it, usually it's in the top. Right now it's not. But I've seen people do it, this trick. Now I don't know why it's not working. Probably because we are doing some kind of different sorting. I don't know. Is it like this? Now I'm getting. Why is the underscore not up there? I don't know.
I think that's because of it's an array. I don't. You call it another name. Districts and the persons have many names. Porto, Lisboa, Aveiro, and persons.
No, it's okay. No, that's not it. Now I understood why. It's because apparently I didn't even know, but the capital characters are first. Before. So do you see country, districts, persons, all capital, then underscore, then the non-capital. So if I put all my keys non-capital as they should be, now I get the effect I wanted. And I didn't need two underscores, just one. Okay, so now name is the first. Okay, so typically for keys, we don't, we always use lowercase. I have to put my laptop charging. Okay, what else? Anyone needs anything else? Okay, so what I suggest is that you try to start or continue if you have already started the assignment number 1. And if you have some questions, let me know, okay? Actually, I have another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which is how GitHub, how you should use GitHub to work inside the group. Do you have any idea about this? Perhaps I should try to help to tell you about this. So go ahead, Gabriel. Then I will try to explain. You raise your hand, no? Okay.
Can we convert the int number in a time, for example, 5 in 5 seconds, and create a cycle that stop when the time is finished?
So first, the conversion, I don't really think that will be a problem, because I mean, if you do this exercise, the first one, the exercise 1, did you do it? No? Okay, so you try it and I think you will know how to do it. So here we, for example, compute the duration. You have a number, for example, which comes from our parser, which will be 5. So that means your test cannot be more than 5 seconds. So you just compute the duration, and if it's more than 5, you stop. So you just have to see if 2.37 is bigger than 5, okay? So the conversion is not going to be a problem. You can compare an integer number with a float number. Actually, you cannot, because what will happen is that the integer will be converted to float before comparison, but it's transparent to you. The second question was about, I forgot. Can you remember? Well, I actually answered the second question in my first response. If you do this test, if the maximum time is bigger than the duration that I'm measuring, then I should stop the test. So you just do an if somewhere. No problem. If you do this first exercise, I think it will be more clear to you. Any other questions? No? Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. So what can happen is something like this. Further than the, yeah. So for example, this is a timeline, okay? The test starts here. This is the start. And you know that you want to take 10 seconds. So this is going to be 10. So this should be the finish, or the, well, not the finish, the, well, let's say the finish. So now you start answering questions. So first you ask something, and then the user will say this. Then you ask something else, the user will say that. Then the user takes a long time to say that. And then you ask something else, and the user, when the finish comes, is still not finished, did not input. So you just wait until the user completes. And now, on this timestamp, because this timestamp is bigger than the finish, that's when you quit, okay? If you look at the video, I mean this video here, this happens, yeah. It is possible. It is possible to do, but it's quite hard. So I have a colleague here on P1 that did it. He had an initial solution which was actually working quite fine. The problem here is that when you are inside these green slots, you are calling function read char, correct? And this function is what we call a blocking function. What is a blocking function? It's a function that blocks the program. So this function will not allow you to execute other instructions, because when you say read char, you say it here and it will wait for a long time until the user presses something. So this is a blocking function. The way to go, the workaround this is what the colleague did, which is to create in the program, to configure in the program, what are called interrupts or system interrupts. So system interrupts are the special signals that the system has that break the program. For example, let me show you a very simple system interrupt. When we are, for example, let me do this. I have a while, true, okay? So this is a while cycle that will do only this. Print, I am bored. Okay, so, and then it will sleep for a couple of times. Sleep for, I'm not sure if this is seconds or milliseconds, I never know. So let's say this. That's all this guy does. I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored, okay? So now the code, this is like a blocking code because it's always doing this. So how can I interrupt this program? You could try to do some test that would say, if you press something, you start to abort, but the code cannot process that information because it's currently busy with being bored, okay? So the way to do this is to implement a system signal, which is a signal that is sent to the program by the system, by the operating system. So this signal is sent to the program, and when the program receives the signal, it will know that it should do something. So a signal that is always implemented for all programs, even if you don't do anything, is a signal called sig term. So for example, my program here is, where is my program? Is this terminator, you see? Oh, but this is to, I want to see, what was the name of my program? UTM, right? Oh, here is my UTM. You see the gray one, the brown? Okay, so the UTM, I can kill it. I can send a signal. So with F9, I can send a signal. And then I have many signals. The bigger the signal, so the name 40 and 29 are going to be signals which have more priority. But if I send a sig term, which is number 15, this is a signal saying to the program, you should abort, you should stop. So if I send this signal with an enter, if all goes well, the program terminated, you see? So this program is listening to signal. Besides doing what we program it to do in our code, it is also listening to signals from the operating system. Like what, sorry? Control C, yeah, exactly. That's my, so when you push Control C, do you know what you are doing? You are sending a signal. This is the shortcut for sending a signal called SIGINT. Look. So again, I'm going to find UTM. And so I'm going to, okay, so now I'm going to kill. And Control C is the same as saying SIGINT. Where is SIGINT? Here, signal with priority 2. Okay, so Control C is the same as doing this. Okay, now I told you about the program being prepared to listen to signals, but this is a standard behavior that all programs have. They listen to the signals in the operating system. What you will have to do, or what a colleague did, was he created a custom signal just for that program, which will be triggered in X amount of seconds. So after 5 seconds, there will be a signal that will interrupt the execution of his program. Okay, so if you want to go down that route, you will learn a lot. Start by searching for signals, Python signals, something like that. Yeah, I wanted to show you GitHub, no? So Manel, can you help me? Because you know a lot about GitHub, you know more than me, so you are going to help me. This is just to, I'm going to pretend that I'm doing a practical assignment with Manel, okay? And we are going to work together on practical assignment number 1. So what we are going to do is I'm going to say, Manel, I don't know anything about this. So I'm going to create the repository and then you do the code. So I'm going to create, let me go to my GitHub account. Okay. So I'm going to create a repository. Go to repositories, new. And I'm going to say here test. Assignment 1, okay? This has a README and the git ignore. Well, this is standard. I told you before about this. Okay, so what do I have now? I have a repository which is in the cloud, and now only I can see it and write in it. So I'm going to have to invite Manuel to be my collaborator. So I'm going here, manage access. It asks me for my password. And then I will say, invite someone. Manuel, what is your GitHub username? Manuel. Yeah, okay, here he is. Okay. So now I have just invited him. Right now the invitation is pending invite, and he will have to answer that he wants to collaborate in order for him to be a collaborator. After he does, which he should do soon, if he goes to his email, there should be an email there. After he does this, now we have to start working on something. So I'm going to give him an assignment, a task. I go to issues, new issue. And I would, did you accept already, Manuel? Not yet. Can you do it? So I'm going to say, insert or create a first main.py, which only prints we are doomed, okay? So this is going to be a task for Manel. So, well, Manel is not here yet because he doesn't, okay, waiting for Manel. So I just created an issue, okay? Now, when Manel accepts, and is actually a collaborator of this, he will be able to, I will be able to put him here. For now, I will do the following. I will create a local copy to my computer. How do I do that? I told you before, so you just go to the URL of the repository, you copy it. Now you go to some place in your system where you want to put this local copy. I always put it on working copy. And you do a git clone the URL of the repository, okay? So this is my local copy of the repository I just created, which for now contains almost nothing, just a git ignore and a readme. Now I can go to PyCharm and create a project where I can see this repository. So in my PyCharm, I am going to create a new one because I don't want to have this one polluted. So I will open working copy, how did I call it? Test assignment 1, okay? Okay, so here is test assignment 1. Right now it contains only the 2 files that I had before. Manel, do you have? Okay, so now I have here, Manel should be a participant. Let's see. So if he's a participant, I can go to my issues, my issues again, and say, oh, yes, very depressive. So now this is going to be for Manel. So I'm going to say, depressive. Yes, that's why I ask you to do it. So now you take this job. So now Manel is an assignee of this, and he has to do this part, okay? So let's switch to Manel. Manel, can you show your screen and tell us what you are doing now? So I'm not sure if you shouldn't.
Yeah, my microphone's turned on. I don't know if that was the objective, but yeah. Sharing my screen now. I'm currently on PyCharm. This is my repository, the code normal. I will have to add the folder, the test assignment, but I've already cloned it. I can show it again. The first thing you need to do, depends if you use SSH or HTTPS, you can just copy this, just click on here or just do a Control-C as usual. Just place wherever you want. You can just do a git clone and just paste it, Control-Shift-V, and just press enter. I'll not press it because it's already done, but it will give you something like this, basically cloning into the folder. There are the number of objects and everything. Yeah, that's pretty normal. Now, after that, you can open it on your editor, maybe PyCharm or other. Just open it, search for it. It's already in here because I've already searched for it. Press OK. You can open it in a new window. You can close whatever you have in this window and open it here, or you can attach. If you attach, it will be here, just a test assignment over here. If you right-click the test assignment directory, you can create a new Python file. I can call it Okay, yeah. Yes. Main.py. And it asks if I want to add it to GitHub. And obviously I do, because I want to share it with the professor. You can start with placing the shebang line, which I don't know by heart. It's something like this, yeah. And just, you can create the main function and return it. And you can place the if clause that we always place right here. So it runs main. And we can print, we are all doomed. I believe that was the objective. If not, you can also go to issues. And I can always just see it. We are doomed with an exclamation point. So I'll just place an exclamation point and a lowercase w, I believe. So it's all correct, yeah. And after that, I can commit it to Git and send it, but it's a good practice to always test it first and see if everything is working. So you can just, I'm already on the correct folder, but if not, you can just navigate to there with cd. You can place ls. Maybe your file is not executable. The professor already taught us that, but you can always use cmod and read, write, execute, and just the file. And if you list it again with ls, it's now with the green color. If it's green, it's executable. If it's executable, we can just /main.py and it prints we're all doomed, as it should. If everything is working as you want it, you can, this is not a file, it's not from this repository, just ignore it, please. You can just click select the main.py that you've created and just create a new, just write some comments, that's it. And you can also, if you are working with issues, there's an advantage because this is issue number 1. You can just copy this, or you can just write it, and you can just say it solves issue. It's not pasting, okay, it's over here. Solves issue number 1, that's simple. And if you commit and push, you can push it, and we can see on test assignment, everything we've done is in here, and it's already solves issue number 1. And if it solves issue number 1, the number 1 is highlighted. If you click on the highlight, it redirects to the issue. So everything is connected. And you can see it here. If I add the commit that references this issue, it's already in here. So it's easier for me to say what issue I'm working on, and it's easier for the professor or my colleagues to see the commit I did solving or doing something on that issue, which is over here. You can click on it and you can see everything I've done. And I think that's it.
That's it, yeah. So just for you to get the idea what we are doing, so now Manuel would send something. Now, for example, you just send something to me, not to me, but to solve the issue. So what I should do now is, once I get a message on the issue saying, oh, this is solved, I will.
Só tem o microfone desligado.
Okay, now yes, I was saying, after Manuel does that, I will just update my project, and I get the main.py that Manuel did, okay? So I'm not sure, just to finalize, I will try, obrigado Manuel, thanks.
No problem.
I will just try to explain what we have in terms of repositories, because the architecture starts to become complex. What I'm doing here is I have a repository in the cloud, which is called PSR 2021 or 2122, okay? This is my repository, Miguel, which means that in my laptop, Miguel, I can read and write, okay? Now, for someone else like Manuel, his laptop he will only be able to read the repository. So this is not writable for him. This is only readable for him. What he should do, and probably has already done, is whenever he wants to do the exercises of the class, he created his own repository, which he could have called PSR Manuel, from which he can read and write. These are his solutions to the exercises, okay? Now, for example, Lucas is going to be here with his laptop and is going to work with Manel on this assignment 1, okay? Of course, Lucas has his own repository called PSR Lucas, and from which he can also read and write, of course. But now, once I tell them to work together, because they are in the same group, they have, so let's say their group is number 23, so some of them, it doesn't matter which one, will create PSR assignment 1 group 23, okay? So now, for example, Manel can do it. He will create this repository, and because he created it, he will be able to read and write. But then what he should do is to add Lucas as a collaborator. That way, Lucas will also be able to read and write from that, okay? So you can see that this is going to be a very large, complex architecture of repositories. Everyone will use PSR 21, 22 just for reading, but then you will have many repositories, okay? But that way, I just wanted to give you an idea of how you could collaborate. For assignment 1, you are working on this yellow stuff, okay? And therefore, you should be in touch with your colleagues from the group. Do you have to share with yes, because I will use it for evaluation. So I will send an email. One of the persons in the group will have to give to me the link for GitHub, because there is a parameter there which says code. So that's what I use. I look at the code on GitHub. Okay. That's it. Any more questions? Okay. If there are many problems, I can try to arrange a meeting next week before Thursday to help you with the assignment. But my advice is that you start working on it as fast as possible. Okay. Okay. See you next week.